Good morning. It is November 7th. I had my last class yesterday, so since then I've been kind of just in full swing of studying. I probably mentioned this, but my first exam is Thursday. It's criminal law, so that's kind of what I've been focusing on all day. I have a preliminary interview for a law firm in a few minutes, so I'm gonna get ready for that soon. But the rest of today is just going to be focusing on getting ready for crim. I might spend some time on my property outline. That is the only one that is not done yet. So that is probably the game plan for today. I mainly just want to spend my time updating my outline, working on some practice exams, and seeing where my gaps are. So that way tomorrow I can work to fill in those knowledge gaps and just kind of solidify everything before my exam on Thursday. So that's the game plan. Like I said, I have a preliminary interview for a law firm. It's nothing like official. It's kind of just like a get to know each other kind of situation. I probably won't hear anything about a job until once I've actually submitted grades. So that's a little nice to kind of just know that this isn't the make or break interview. They're probably going to want to see my grades before anything comes with like deciding a job. But I'm still excited because this is the first step towards a summer position. So I'm gonna go ahead and get ready for my interview. Alright, good morning. It is December 9th. I am about to head out to go take my first final. At this point, I'm not really feeling, nervous or stressed about, whether I understand all the material or not. Thankfully, my exam is open book, so I already have all of my notes and my outlines, and I'm just going to walk in there, and honestly, I'm just gonna do the best that I can. There's not really much more that I can do. It's not like I can miraculously learn something in the next hour before this exam, so I'm not even gonna stress myself trying to do that. I'll probably flip through my outline while I'm eating breakfast, just because that kind of helps me with my nerves, but it's not like I'm teaching myself something. I've worked really hard this entire semester to make sure that I understand the material the best that I can. I have the resources, my outline, and my notes to help me do the best that I can in this exam, and that's kind of all that I can do at this point. So just trying to stay positive, remembering that, I've worked hard for this. My performance on an exam is not going to define my success either in law school or in the future. So just gonna keep a positive spirit and not try and beat myself up, even though that can be really easy to do. I am really susceptible to negative self-talk, but we are not going to let the mean part of ourself intimidate the hopeful part of myself. So on that note, I'm gonna go eat some breakfast, flip through my notes, and then I'm gonna head out to go take my exam. So wish me luck, everybody. Alright, good morning. It is December 13th. Today is my torts final. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to actually take this test today. My brother had gotten the flu last week, so I had been monitoring for any symptoms. Some showed up on Saturday. I ended up going to the urgent care yesterday. They gave me some medication. Yesterday I didn't feel great. I was basically like nauseous. I had like no appetite. My throat hurt, my ears hurt, I was kind of like stuffy. So I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to actually take this exam today, just depending on if I woke up, would I have worse symptoms, or would they have gotten better? But waking up today, I feel a lot better. I actually am hungry, so that's good. So I think I'm gonna take this test today. It starts in about 10 minutes. Thankfully it is take home, so even if I am still contagious, I don't have to actually go to campus and expose anyone to the flu, so that's really good. I wouldn't want to be the reason someone gets the flu this close to the last final. So to recap finals so far, crim was a little rough. I definitely underestimated how challenging the true or false questions were going to be. Even though I suspected that they were going to be challenging, I didn't really know like the extent of that challenge, and it was pretty rough. There were like 45 true or false questions. I was like, in my mind, okay, 30 to 45 minutes, knock it out, and then I can bank the rest of my time for my essay. We had 3 hours total. I was like, okay, 30 to 45 minutes, the rest of the time essay, so I can make sure that I, hit every point that I want to make, and that I'm able to like edit, revise. That did not happen. The first 30 minutes came by. I was still probably on like question 10 of the true or false, and I was like, okay, we're gonna give myself the hour. So hour goes by, I'm on like question 17, and I'm like, this is rough. So at that point I'm like, shit, I'm gonna have to take the whole 90 minutes to do the like as much as I can on these true or false questions, and then just move on, because I need the last 90 minutes to do this essay. So that's what I did. When the 90 minutes hit, I stopped where I was, and moved on to the essay. So I ended up having to guess on about 10 of the true or false questions just because I didn't get to them. So that was a little rough. The essay felt like it went a lot better though. I'm glad I gave myself the time to work through that. I basically worked up until like the last minute or two, and then I just spell checked and that was it. So I didn't even get to like edit or revise. I don't think that there was really a whole lot of editing I could have done anyways. It was kind of just like typing as fast as I possibly can and trying to make sure that I sound coherent. But at that point, that's basically all I could do. So the like consensus was, I think I did well. I don't think I did good. I don't think I aced it, but the one thing kind of keeping me off the edge right now is that these tests are actually designed to be super hard. Like, no one is expected to get 100%, which is like very different from undergrad, where it's like, it's possible to get 100% on an exam. I have in the past. But at this point, they're like, no one should be getting 100%, which like sucks for my like imposter syndrome, because if I don't get 100%, then I feel like I don't belong here, but also like good because, the bar isn't super high, so it's a give and take. But yeah, that was crim. Today's torts. It's take home. I have 6 hours to do it. I probably will take all 6 hours. She says she designs the test for 6 hours so that way we have time to like do the test, eat something, you know, take a walk, whatever, and then come back and like, you know, review before we submit. But some past students have said that they typed for like 6 hours straight. So I don't really know how this is gonna go. I didn't exactly get to study how I wanted to yesterday since I was running around trying to go to the urgent care, get the medication, all that stuff. So thankfully it is like open book, so I can use the outline I have. I did do a few practice problems last night, but yeah, we're just gonna see what we can do. I'm definitely nervous, probably more nervous for this one going into it than I was crim, but I don't know, there's no point in really trying to like put it off, even though I have a doctor's note. I have a doctor's note in case I woke up today feeling like shit and I actually like could not take this test. I don't plan on using it. I'm gonna take this test in a few minutes, just because, yeah, if I turn in that note, then I'd have to reschedule it, and that just causes more problems. So I'd rather just take it, get it on with, and then I can move on to property, and then I'd be one step closer to the semester being over. So we're just gonna do the very best we can, and just keep at the forefront of our minds that, once again, our grade on our final does not define us. And our ability exceeds beyond what is represented on standardized tests. And everything will be okay. Alright, so tomorrow is my last final, which is property. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm exhausted or the fact that I have been spending the most time in property this semester, but I'm not really nervous for this exam. And that might be purely just because I am so tired that I have no more stress to give. But I like to think that I'm not stressed because I feel prepared for this final. This is the class that I had the most writing assignments with this semester. I had a midterm, granted it was practice, but at least I got to test my understanding of the material halfway through the semester, which I didn't get to do for crim or torts. So I've had a lot of time to kind of evaluate how I'm doing in the class, at least more than in my other classes. So at this point, you know, maybe I'm just too tired, but I feel okay about property. I think it'll be fine. She does kind of like shorter exams, so maybe that's also kind of just carrying me, knowing that I don't have to pull another torts. So just like a quick torts recap. The exam was brutal, but not in the same way that like crim was. So like crim was hard, and you know, for people who are in law school, you'll probably understand. But for those of you who are not in law school, I'll just kind of like do a little compare and contrast between my torts exam and my crim exam. So like for crim, at least the way that it's taught at UT, and I imagine it's kind of taught the same at other universities too, but when we are talking about like crimes, so we'll talk about homicide for example, There's the actus reus and the mens rea, and so the actus reus is like the actual like act that someone did, and the mens rea is like the mentality or their like mindset during the act. And so in order for someone to be convicted of like, you know, murder as opposed to like manslaughter, it's going to require a certain level of mens rea. And so in the exam, you know, you get like a fact pattern, and, you know, the question ends up being like, it was like, can John be held liable for first degree murder? And so you have to kind of track through the facts and be like, okay, he did this act and he had this mindset. In order to be like murder, you have to have malice aforethought. Malice aforethought can be proven through these things. And so it's a lot of like referencing different material throughout the semester and kind of like building on that. So you have to check off the mens rea, you have to check off the actus reus, and then that's like just to get the like target offense. Like if the question's asking about like attempt, then you have to like have purpose to commit that crime, and it just adds like a whole nother element. So crim was rough because it was a lot of material just kind of like stacking on top of each other that you had to kind of like work through really quickly. Torts, on the other hand, was very like, here are some facts, throw as many claims at the wall as you can in like as short of a period of time as you can. And so that one was kind of just like, let me just get as much onto the paper down as I can before I run out of time. So I ended up typing for almost like the full 6 hours. I think I was done with like 15 minutes to spare. And at that point I didn't even have like the motivation to like go back and read my answers to see if they were like coherent. Like I did spell check, made sure that I answered all the questions, and then I was like, oh, that's it. It's getting turned in. I don't want to look at this anymore. So, that's kind of like the difference between those two exams, at least for like my experience in my classes. Obviously it's going to be different for everybody, not just at UT, but like across like all the different schools and stuff like that. But that's kind of just like been my experience between those two classes. Between those two classes, I think property is going to be more like crim, but not as, you know, demanding on like evaluations and stuff. Like there are still tests that I have to like go through, like the adverse possession test and things like that, but I don't need to also make sure that people's like mindsets are conforming to like the conduct. So I don't think it's going to be as like developed as crim was, but I don't think it's going to be as like kind of free flowy as torts, especially because my property professor, she's put up a couple of different like tests that she's put on in the past, and a lot of her tests are like, I don't know, they seem kind of like tricky. Like she'll put stuff in the fact pattern and then she'll ask you like a question and she's like, could they meet the adverse possession requirement? But like she didn't put anything about statute of limitations. So like if you assume that they met the statute of limitations, you're just gonna get the whole question wrong. So I'm not a fan, but I've kind of like noticed that, so I'm gonna take that into the test tomorrow and just remind myself, like, just because it's not there doesn't mean that it's been met. And if anything, if it's not there, that should mean that it's not been met. But so that's a good like finals recap. I might hop on tomorrow after my test to kind of just let y'all know how it goes. Since I really want to be able to give y'all like a good documented experience for a law school exam. But we'll see. I don't know how. I don't know if I'm gonna have the energy, honestly, to like pop on tomorrow, because after my final I have to go run some errands. And then me and a couple of girlfriends are going to go out to celebrate finishing the semester. So if anything, maybe I'll just hop on before that and just kind of give y'all a little update. But I feel like I'm in the final leg of like a very long like marathon. At this point, like the runner high is gone. I'm just tired, my muscles hurt, my feet hurt, and I just want it to be over So I'm very much looking forward to 12 o'clock tomorrow, which is when my exam is done. But until then, we are going to keep working. I think I'm gonna do a couple of like practice problems later on tonight. I'm taking a little like study break, but I'll probably hop back in a little bit. But yeah, it's been intense. This has probably been like the hardest finals week I've ever had, like hands down, easily, probably the hardest. But we're almost done. The fact that in a few days I'll be on a plane to Colorado and that after my exam I get to eat pasta and drink wine is just keeping me going. We're just gonna keep pushing, just keep swimming, keep moving forward. And we're just gonna keep a good mindset and everything will be perfectly fine.